Welcome to the True Detectives podcast. Buckle up because we're diving headfirst into a story that's got it all detectives. A crazy investigation and a setting that's truly out of this world.
Yeah, we're not talking about your typical crime scene here. Today, we're going lunar. We're cracking open a case file that's, well, straight from the moon.
You got that right.
Yeah.
Our source material for this investigation comes from excerpts of Texcali, specifically a section that's cryptically titled Moon Dust. Now, this isn't some dusty old archive, think murder mystery, but on the moon.
Intriguing, right.
Absolutely. And to add another layer to this, picture this whole thing unfolding back in 1968. You know, the era of bell-bottoms, psychedelic rock, and oh yeah, the peak of the Cold War.
Right. Back when the space race wasn't just about scientific exploration, but this high-stakes game of one-upmanship between global superpowers.
Exactly. It was about planting flags, sure, but it was also about proving your nation's technological dominance, its military might, and potentially controlling resources that could completely reshape the world order. And the moon, well, let's just say it was shaping up to be the ultimate prize.
The moon was seen as this vast, untapped frontier, possibly holding resources that could have shifted the balance of power on Earth. It was a time when tensions were running incredibly high, and mistrust between nations, particularly the U.S. and the Soviet Union, was palpable.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story takes place on Lunar Base Alpha, this supposed beacon of human ingenuity and progress. But within its gleaming metallic walls, a very human drama is about to unfold. It starts with a discovery, a body.
The body of Commander Harris, no less, found floating lifeless in the airlock of Lunar Base Alpha. And get this, the description we have paints a very vivid picture of blood crystallizing in the vacuum of space.
Blood crystals, that's unsettling.
It is. It's this immediate and striking visual that tells you you're not dealing with an ordinary crime scene. It's this stark reminder that the rules of Earth don't apply up there. The environment itself is a force to be reckoned with.
It's almost like the moon itself is another character in this story. And the man tasked with untangling this cosmic knot is Detective Alex Novik. Now, Novik is an interesting character. He's a former beat cop, a down-to-earth guy, now thrust into this extraordinary role of lunar detective.
A fish out of water, in the most literal sense.
You could say that. And Novik, from the get-go, he rules out the possibility of an accident, which, considering the controlled environment of a lunar base, makes sense, right?
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Everything on a lunar base is meticulously planned. Every procedure, every system, it's all designed for safety and precision. So, a fatal accident, highly improbable.
It's like Novik is sensing something's off, that in this place, even death has to have a design. And adding another layer of complexity to this case, we learn that Novik isn't working solo. He's partnered up with Kuznetsov, a Soviet investigator.
Talk about a recipe for tension, right? You've got these two guys representing the two most powerful and ideologically opposed nations on Earth, forced to work together on a murder investigation hundreds of thousands of miles from home.
Talk about awkward carpool. I mean, remember, this is 1968. The Cold War is at its peak. Every interaction between these two would be charged with suspicion, with the weight of history, and the very real possibility of sabotage or espionage. The moon might be this seemingly neutral territory, but the rivalry between the U.S. and the Soviet Union is very much alive and kicking up there.
Yeah, and the thing is, both the U.S. and the Soviet Union had a vested interest in portraying the space race as this grand demonstration of their technological prowess. But behind the scenes, there was a constant undercurrent of paranoia. Each side was obsessed with the other's capabilities, convinced that any advantage gained in space could translate into an advantage back on Earth. It makes you think, what were their true motives for being on the moon in the first place?
Absolutely. And the setting itself, Lunar Base Alpha, is described as this gleaming, metallic monument to human ambition. But as the investigation progresses, you realize it's also a pressure cooker. This confined space, this tiny bubble of breathable air in a hostile, unforgiving environment, housing scientists, engineers, astronauts, and who knows who else, possibly spies.
It's claustrophobic almost. You get the sense that the lunar landscape, the vastness of space, somehow magnifies the human drama unfolding within the base. And remember, these people are completely isolated, cut off from everything familiar, everything comforting. The psychological toll that takes, it's immense.
Right, and you've got the constant threat of the environment itself. One tiny mistake, one technical malfunction, and it's game over.
Yeah.
So in this pressure cooker, we've got a murder. And the initial evidence, it's surprisingly mundane. A malfunctioning oxygen valve, and a missing wrench.
It's interesting how the ordinary can become extraordinary, even sinister, depending on the context, right? On Earth, a wrench is just a tool. But on a lunar base, well, it could easily be a murder weapon. And that makes pinpointing the culprit even harder. You've got a base full of people who have the technical know-how to use those items, to tamper with equipment, to make things happen.
It's like a locked room mystery, but in space. And as Novik starts digging, he interviews some key individuals. First, we have Dr. Nakamura, a brilliant Japanese physicist, described as having incredibly insightful eyes. It's like he sees everything, notices the smallest detail, and he's got this air of quiet intelligence that makes you wonder what he knows.
The presence of a Japanese scientist on the base is interesting too. It reminds us that the space race wasn't just a two-player game. Other nations were involved, and they brought their own agendas, their own perspectives to this lunar melting pot.
Then there's Colonel Baxter. Now, Baxter is the quintessential American patriot. And according to our sources, he's got this deep-seated distrust of, well, pretty much anyone who is an American, but especially Kuznetsov.
He's suspicious of the Soviets, convinced they're up to something, probably sees a red spy behind every moon rock.
Probably. And then we've got Irina, a Russian engineer. She's described as enigmatic, and it's clear she's holding something back, some piece of information, some secret that she's not willing to share.
Is she protecting someone? Is she involved in something she shouldn't be? Or is she just caught in the middle of this escalating conflict between superpowers, afraid to say anything that could make the situation worse?
It's like she's a walking puzzle box, and Novik needs to figure out how to open it. And speaking of escalating conflict, things start to get really heated on the base. Our sources tell us there's almost a full-blown brawl between Baxter and Kuznetsov. Apparently, they clash over accusations of sabotage, each convinced that the other is trying to undermine their respective countries' efforts on the moon.
You can practically feel the tension, right? It's like the pressure of being on the moon, combined with the inherent distrust of the Cold War, creates this powder keg atmosphere where even the smallest spark can set things off.
It's like the earthly conflict just followed them into space.
Mm-hmm.
And then comes the turning point in the case. A coded message is intercepted, a message intended for the Soviets. And what this message reveals, well, it completely changes the game. It points to a secret mining operation. Not just any mining operation, though. They're after helium-3.
Helium-3?
Yeah. Might not sound exciting at first, but this stuff has the potential to revolutionize energy production. It's seen as this incredible fuel source for fusion reactors, something that could provide clean, almost limitless energy.
And if one nation were to control the supply of helium-3, well, it could shift the balance of power dramatically.
Right.
Especially during the Cold War, when energy was seen as this strategic asset.
Exactly. Whoever controls the energy controls the world, right? And what makes things even more intriguing is that the intercepted message, it hints that Commander Harris's death is directly linked to this clandestine helium-3 operation. It suggests he might have been close to uncovering the truth.
So we're not just dealing with a murder anymore. We've got a conspiracy, espionage, and potentially world-altering stakes.
It's like the moon just became the most valuable piece of real estate in the solar system. And suspicion on the base, well, it goes through the roof. Everyone is looking at each other, wondering who they can trust, who's playing for which side. And in the middle of this chaos, Detective Novik, this guy who used to patrol the streets of some Earth city, becomes the most unlikely unifying figure.
He's the outsider, the one person who isn't deeply entrenched in the power struggles and rivalries that are tearing the base apart. In a strange way, that makes him the most trustworthy person there.
It's like he's seeing things with fresh eyes. And Novik, he goes back to basics. He revisits the physical evidence, those seemingly unimportant details, the scratches on the oxygen valve, the lunar dust on the missing wrench. And what he realizes is that whoever killed Commander Harris, they weren't as meticulous as you'd expect from a scientist or a trained engineer.
It's like he's looking for the human element in the crime, the imperfection, the mistake, the clue that points to someone who acted impulsively, maybe even desperately.
And that's what leads him to the support crew, mechanics, the technicians, the folks who keep the base running. These are the people who know the systems inside out, who have access to the tools, but who are often overlooked, underappreciated. And who knows, maybe even harboring some resentment for the astronauts and scientists who get all the glory.
It's a classic case of those in power failing to see the potential threat from those they deem less important. The mechanics, they're in the shadows, they see everything, they know how everything works, and they might just have the motive and the means to carry out a crime like this.
And the confrontation, well, it happens right back where it all started, in the airlock. Novik brings in two mechanics, both looking haggard, like they haven't slept in days, like the weight of their secret is crushing them. And it turns out their motive. A mix of greed and desperation. They stumbled upon this helium-3 operation and saw a chance to change their lives, to get a piece of the pie, but they knew Harris was going to expose them, and they panicked.
It's a reminder that even on the moon, basic human emotions, fear, greed, the desire for a better life can drive people to do terrible things.
And in that tense, airless space, one of the mechanics breaks down. He confesses, admits that he was the one who killed Harris, to silence him, to protect their secret.
It's a moment of truth, but it also raises more questions. Were they really acting alone? Or were they pawns in a much bigger game?
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in this moment of confession, something unexpected happens. Kuznetsov, the Soviet investigator who's been suspicious of everything and everyone, shows a glimmer of understanding. He seems to recognize something in these desperate men, something that transcends ideology, something human.
It's like for a brief moment, the Cold War rivalry fades away, and they're just two people confronting the shared reality of human fallibility.
It's a powerful moment. With the confession secured, a fragile calm returns to Lunar Base Alpha. The mechanics are detained, the information they provide is shared, but there's this lingering feeling that this is just the tip of the iceberg, that the conspiracy stretches back to Earth, involving people in high places, people who are willing to do anything to control this potentially game-changing resource.
It's a classic cover-up, right? Someone had to take the fall, and mechanics, they were the perfect scapegoats. Expendable.
A sobering thought. And the investigation ends with Detective Novik standing on the lunar surface, gazing back at Earth, this tiny blue marble hanging in the vastness of space. And he has this realization that even when we reach for the stars, we bring our baggage with us, our conflicts, our greed, our capacity for violence, it all follows us. The moon, this symbol of human ambition and exploration, is now tainted by these very human failings.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? It makes you question the whole idea of progress. Are we really moving forward? Or are we just repeating the same mistakes, the same patterns of behavior, even as we venture into the unknown?
It's a question worth pondering. So there you have it, a murder mystery on the moon, driven by greed, desperation, and the echoes of a conflict that seemed to reach across the very void of space.
What do you think? Can we ever truly escape our earthly conflicts? Or is this just the beginning of a new kind of space race, one where the stakes are even higher and the consequences even more dire?
It's something to think about. We've come a long way, but have we really changed? Rate and follow the True Detectives podcast for more true crime and true detective stories.